Hey there, and welcome to The Hash on this lovely Thursday. I am Zach Seward. I am joined by Naomi Brockwell, Jen Sanasi, and Will Foxley. We're going to get you caught up on all things happening in crypto right now, today, December 16th. And starting us off is Naomi Brockwell with some news from Capitol Hill.
Some news from Capitol Hill. So 6 senators have actually written a letter to Janet Yellen, Treasury Secretary, saying, can you please clarify the definition of broker in the infrastructure law? And also, we're giving you a deadline. So according to them, the law contains overly broad language of what a broker could be. So it could include miners and developers and all kinds of people that would not have access to the information that would be required of them for their reporting requirements. So Senators Rob Portman, Mike Crapo, Pat Toomey, Mark Warner, Kirsten Sinema, and Cynthia Lummis wrote this letter, and they said, now that this bill has become law, Congress has a responsibility to ensure that it is implemented effectively and in accordance with congressional intent. So pretty interesting stuff there. They did try to pass this back in August, and then it was derailed. And so now they're trying again and saying, Yellen, you have the power to do this. You need to do this. So I'm going to throw this to the group for your take. Zach, what are your thoughts on this letter? And do you think that Yellen is going to comply?
I love a good deadline. Deadline was the best thing about this one. I don't know. I mean, I think we've been wanting this clarity, and I think like we've talked about this before, right? Where Treasury is saying, hey, we're not going to enforce it, no big deal, whatever. And some people are saying, well, I don't know. That seems a little squishy. We don't like that. So the fact that folks are still on this issue asking for that clarity codified into law, I think is fantastic. And yeah, I think you're right. I mean, it's going to be an open question as to whether or not this gets acted on. And I don't know. I don't think I'm able to cast a bet either way on this one. But you would think that making this as clear as possible when it comes to the letter of the law would be useful. Should there be some interest in supporting this industry in a compliant way in the U.S. going forward? So hopefully it'll work out. We'll see. Maybe the deadline will do something. Maybe it won't. But time will tell.
I think if this happens before the end of the year, it will be a holiday miracle. I mean, I think these senators have been pushing for this clarity since the summer, and we haven't really seen anything. But to Zach's point, as long as they keep pushing, I think that there's pressure. That the pressure is necessary for something to change here. So I just hope that they keep letting their voice be heard, and I hope that something happens. But I don't think it's going to happen before the end of the year.
Yeah, I'll jump in. It's interesting when we're talking about the representative from the Treasury, this anonymous source who said, oh, no one's going to misinterpret this. We're not going to overly broadly interpret this law. And that's really all the guidance we've received and all the assurance that this isn't going to be to the detriment of the crypto industry. So many issues with that. First of all, you have to presume that this source from Treasury considers overly broad the same way that we consider overly broad. I mean, they could be like, no, including minus, and this is not overly broad at all. And second of all, this is just one Treasury Secretary, one administration. You get in the next one, they could define it completely differently. And because we have that codified in law, there's not much you can do about it. So getting tight language around this right now is really important for the crypto industry, which is why you have these senators pushing back. But Will, I'll throw it to you.
Yeah, the one thing that kind of took me off guard a little bit was Portman was the original senator who included some language that made a lot of people unhappy. Might be mistaken on that, but I'm pretty sure that's kind of how it broke down in July and August, where we saw the language that was first put in the infrastructure bill was just completely wrong, like from a technical layer. And there's pushback. There's some amendments going back and forth. We saw that the amendment ended up not going through to the infrastructure bill, and they just had to ship it as was at the time. And now that language is codified into law. And I think just for viewers, like what they're trying to do is change that language so then the regulators who are looking at this bill can say, hey, this is how it should be interpreted, not this way. And that does need to be done because future administrations might not look at this infrastructure bill and view it the same way that the text is supposed to be interpreted right now at the present moment. And that could lead to like a lot of overreaching regulations in the future, which nobody wants to have. And it is kind of like the usual suspects versus the usual suspects here, right? We have Janet Yellen, who's made a lot of critiques against digital assets in the past. and they're asking her for a little help, but I don't think they're going to get a lot of help from her unless they have some sort of legal leverage just from how the regulation system works up against the Senate. Naomi, I'll throw it back to you, though.
Yeah, just on the Portman note. So it was Portman who wrote the original language. It was sort of rushed in this midnight edition right before voting was meant to happen. And everyone's like, why are they adding in like this crypto stuff? And it was obviously a pay for in the infrastructure bill. But then when you had this coalition of other people come forward and say, actually, this language would be better, Portman was initially on board. Portman said, you're right. Yeah, this is better language. Let's do it this way. And then you had Senator Warren apparently call up people, and then suddenly Portman comes out with this other language and is like, actually, second thoughts, we're going to use this other language. There was a bit of fight, and when it came down to it, they basically had to both agree and had to be a unanimous vote for either of the amendments to get through. What ended up happening was you had Alabama Senator Richard Shelby say, I will not pass this unless you also add in $5 gazillion for defense stuff. And they're like, this has nothing to do with this. No, we're not going to add that. So he's like, we're derailing this entire thing. You had like Senator Cruz there, who was actually pretty awesome speaking up for the crypto space, who was like, please, Senator Shelby, don't do this. It's really important that we get this crypto stuff nailed down. This would be a really good amendment. If you just pass it, then I will work with you privately to, make sure that your stuff goes through as well. And he's like, nah, not going to do it. And so the whole thing was derailed. And now we're finding all these other ways to try and get that language changed. This is one of the efforts that lawmakers are trying, actually directed at Yellen herself. So we'll see if it is successful. But let's change track and look at what CONSENSYS is doing.
Let's talk about CONSENSYS, the firm out of Brooklyn that has helped build a lot of the Ethereum technology that a lot of dApps and applications and DEXs are using today. They're working with MasterCard on rolling out a new roll-up feature that would allow people to send transactions on top of Ethereum much more easily. We're talking about 10,000 transactions per second. That puts Ethereum with this new scaling technology into the ballpark of larger banking corporations like Visa, MasterCard, etc. So you'd be able to use Ethereum just for, spending money at a coffee shop for the first time instead of spending like huge amounts of money on gas fees. That's a pretty notable goal that everyone in Ethereum world, so to speak, is kind of pushing towards. And CONSENSYS, with a lot of applications they've built to date, like MetaMask or Truffle, have always kind of led the charge on adding infrastructure to the Ethereum network. Zach, I want to throw this one to you. There's not a lot of details in this post right now. We don't really know what type of rollup they're using. We don't know when this is going to deploy. We don't know where it's going to deploy and what applications are going to build on top of this rollup. But it is notable that MasterCard is working with them on something that a year ago wasn't really anything that people understood.
Yeah, that's the story here, is that MasterCard is trying to get in the scaling game, right? That's kind of crazy. They're tapping as their trusted partner to help to make that happen. CONSENSYS obviously has been working on Ethereum for many years now. But the fact that MasterCard is thinking about how to make mainnet scale to like consumer level mass adoption, that's the story here to me. Whether or not they're going to be able to do this, I think that's still very much an open question. But if these claims here get, if they get anywhere toward what they're claiming they can do, which is like make 10,000 transactions per second possible, riding atop of Ethereum. I mean, that would be a big deal for making, as you said, Will, this thing usable for daily spending, as opposed to like, often seeing gas costs far exceed the cost of the thing that you're trying to buy. So the fact that CONSENSYS is enlisting MasterCard or the other way around on this is notable. And, should be watched as we see, ETH is money kind of gain steam. So those are my thoughts on that one. Jen, tossing you.
Yeah, I got this press release in my inbox this morning, and I thought it was interesting when we compare MasterCard and Visa, right? They're like the Coke and Pepsi of the credit card world. And Visa, they bought the NFT. They're really focused on consulting. And MasterCard is now, it looks like they're focusing on infrastructure. So the press release said that they're focusing on scalability and privacy. And one of their motivations out of this is to have more mainstream use cases for things like CBDCs, DEXs, micropayments, and private transfers. So it's interesting to see the two different ways that Visa and MasterCard are going. It feels like MasterCard's gives them more of a competitive advantage over Visa's consulting. Both are interesting, but it will be interesting to watch in the new year, kind of what directions these two mainstream credit card companies go when it comes to crypto.
Yeah, I'll add to that and say that I'm going to jump in. I just say that, it's kind of cool because MasterCard and Visa, they're the standard that we compare crypto transactions with, right? We say like, well, when can we get to Visa level scaling? When can we get to MasterCard level scaling? And so it's really cool that MasterCard is kind of the master at this, is jumping on board and saying, actually, maybe we can help. So I'm interested to see what they come up with there. It's also interesting to kind of see how MasterCard and Visa are navigating their way through the crypto space. I think that MasterCard, if memory serves me correctly, maybe it doesn't, you guys can fact check me, they got on first. And I think it's just because, they have a lower market share in the United States. And so they were like, okay, well, let's beef that up. Like, I think I chatted to BitPay a few years ago, and that was sort of their take on it, that MasterCard was becoming more competitive by embracing crypto earlier, seeing the writing on the wall and saying, this is something we're going to dive into. So it is cool that now both are just kind of diving into this and saying, actually, let's find ways to integrate this rather than it being a competitive thing anymore. Because if we can use immutable blockchain technology, if we can bring down fees, if we can, add all the benefits that crypto has, but then add the scaling of MasterCard and Visa, that's kind of cool, just as long as it doesn't compromise on the decentralization, on the immutability, on the uncensorable nature of this. So we'll see how it all works out. But Will, I'll throw it back to you.
Yeah, I think you bring up a few good points, but I do want to turn back to Jen really quickly. I think that it isn't like a Visa versus MasterCard at this point in terms of like who's kind of jumping into the deep end of crypto more or less. I think they've just placed somewhat different bets. So Visa, of course, has some Ethereum technology that they're kind of building on top of, but they've also invested in a lot of Bitcoin stuff. They helped lead Lightning Labs around, I think, like a year or two ago, like a $10 million round. That's pretty notable investment. Like they're kind of betting on Bitcoin in that situation. But if I'm not incorrect, they also have a few investments like USDC and those kind of projects where they're helping with the stablecoin game as well. And then MasterCard, of course, CoinDesk had that nice scoop earlier this year that MasterCard is jumping into the deep end with crypto as well. So I think at this point, it's not really like either or. I think they're both really jumping into the game. And just to go back to Naomi's point there, I think the immutable part is really important. A lot of these scaling techniques on top of Ethereum, they do have that immutable feature. Like it keeps going up the stack, right? So if you have the Ethereum base layer or whatever chain you're building on, you have some really nice features where a transaction is immutable, it's decentralized or whatnot. And the engineers building these things are trying to keep those same features. So it doesn't matter if MasterCard or Visa is the one kind of building on top of it. You keep the same features that the base layer has. And that's pretty notable for like any sort of, future banking system we have where, hey, if I'm going to send a transaction, my transaction's going to send. No one can touch it. No one can mess with it. And there's not really a middleman, even if Visa and MasterCard are the ones kind of operating behind the scene. But I think we're wrapping up that segment.
We are indeed, and we are taking a break. After the break, guess who's doing NFTs now? Melania Trump, former First Lady of the United States of America, is doing NFTs on Solana. And everyone is having a good time with it. All right, stick with us. It's The Hash. We'll be back after this short break. Thanks.
When we say we want to reimagine money, it turns out we're going to the heart of the matter. Imagination has always been a key part of what money is. Imagination, in the form of cultural creativity, is also something that the cryptocurrency community has in spades. And to the outsider, that can be a reason to dismiss it as frivolous, as something built on nothing. To dismiss it for these reasons, though, is to ignore that all money is imagined.
Hello and welcome back to The Hash. Well, Melania Trump has had her first taste of crypto Twitter, and it's been kind of fun to watch this morning. So Melania is launching her own NFT. The former First Lady said she's launching her own NFT platform that's going to be on her website, melaniatrump.com, and her first release is called Melania's Vision. The collection will feature watercolor style artwork of her cobalt blue eyes. The NFTs are living on the Solana blockchain, and she says that proceeds will go to help children in foster care. The announcement had one single sentence at the end, and it said that it will be powered by Parler. Parler is the social media platform known for being adopted by the far right. So a lot to unpack here. We have Parler, we have Solana, we have former First Lady Melania Trump, we have those cobalt blue eyes. Will, what did you think when you saw this story this morning?
I thought this might be one of the most narcissistic NFT drops we've ever seen, and we've seen a lot of narcissistic NFT drops. So, hats off
Paris,
for that.
Okay, never mind. I'm not bringing her up again. I know she already hates me. So
yeah, we can't. We
I
warn her, and now
today.
We're peaceful. We can't bring up Paris. That went so poorly last time.
I will not bring up Paris's narcissistic NFTs. I promise that I will not bring it up.
Paris, please don't get angry at me. Get angry at Naomi. Let's go back to the story here. This is pretty hilarious looking at President or former President Trump's comments on Bitcoin and crypto in the past. That famous tweet, "I am not a fan of Bitcoin and so-called decentralized currencies," or whatever he just kind of tweeted off in like 2019. 2 years later, the NFT game just draws everybody in. Everyone's a sucker for NFTs, apparently. Even the former First Lady, she's just popping this thing out. And it's, I don't think it's great. And it's funny it's on Solana. I think that's going to give some Solana people, they're going to be a little split over that, which will be kind of hilarious. They want that attention, that notoriety. Well, there's also a downside when you attract people to your platform as well. And I think we're going to kind of see that play out here. All in all, it looks like a top signal. Zach, what are your thoughts?
I think that's a good read. I mean, you're right. Everyone's doing an NFT. Everyone's going to have an NFT. Even former First Ladies are going to have NFTs. And this is what we're seeing right now. So I think it is a bit interesting. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see if this motivates a fan base to bid on this NFT, and maybe it will be a success. But right now it's just funny to see the way that the NFT story continues to surprise, delight, and sometimes just get you in your feels. So I don't know. That's all I got on this one. There's a great quote at the bottom of this story that one of our reporters dug up. So I'm going to invite you readers to go check that one out, commenting on the Solana choice. But I'm going to toss this straight to Naomi. Naomi, what's your thoughts?
Well, I mean, it's just another iteration of let's figure out a way how to make pretty pictures, right? I mean, there's so many use cases for NFTs, and we're seeing all the artists and famous people jump on board, and they're all just going for this is a picture of me. Oh, this is a picture of something else and I like it. Oh, this is another kind of picture. And it's like, okay, cool, guys. Did you know that these are programmable things that have cool use cases that you could explore too? No one's really exploring that. You've had some bands explore it, which has been cool. The idea of an album being an NFT is kind of interesting because, you sell these songs and then the artist gets royalties. That's kind of interesting. I know that there's DeFi-Con is going on in Brooklyn at the moment. They have a cool use case for NFTs. They're using it as the actual tickets. So you get these bears or something and then there are use cases for that. It gets you entry into different things. I think that kind of stuff is really cool. I want to dive into the next level of NFTs. I want to see where we're headed to next because it's just a bunch of famous people having pretty pictures of themselves these days. But I'll throw it back to you, Jen.
Well, Naomi, it's not just a pretty picture. So it comes with an audio recording from Melania with a message of hope. So, if you're feeling down and you want that message of hope from Melania, you get that with this NFT. I do want to mention, Will, well, you can bid on it. Okay, I think it's time to move on.
Yeah, true, probably.
All right, let's move on. I think I'm taking the baton. I'm following that up. All right, let's do this thing. Robinhood adds crypto gifting feature. That's all I got. If you have Robinhood, you can send $1 of crypto. You can send $1 of Doge, $1 of Bitcoin, $1 of 5 other cryptocurrencies, commission free to your friends. It's a gifting feature. That's what they're doing. Will, was that your hand up that you wanted to receive a crypto gift or that you wanted to say something?
Yes. I would like both.
I want to receive a gift.
I'll take it though.
Okay, go.
Let's be lame with the story and really dig into it and ask all the scrutiny here. We need some journalistic scrutiny. What are like
Let's
the
do it.
tax implications for this, and what's the technology behind it? I did notice too that Cash App also kind of ran something like this earlier last week, right? Where you're able to send Bitcoin and stocks to people just as a gift. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, but it seems to be this is kind of a new thing that's popping out. And it has to do with like the socialization aspect of all these apps that are out there in the financial world right now, right? So Venmo always had that feed where you could go see like all your buddies, if they're spending money on pizza or beer or whatever, you can see what they're doing. They're getting away from that. They're kind of saying that's not a feature they're going to have anymore. But I think this is a feature that's similar. You can kind of have like, hey, I'm going to send you an Apple stock, or I'm going to send you an Amazon stock, or I'm going to send you like $5 of Doge. And then we can kind of all be part of like this social game together. It's a fascinating next step, and it also makes sense. And, Cash App is doing it, Robin is doing it. I'm sure Venmo will do something pretty similar.
I think Coinbase is also doing a crypto gifting feature too. Tis the season.
Yeah. I'll jump in and answer some of the questions, Will. So tax implications for this, and remember, talk to your accountant and lawyer and all of that. We are not tax advisors. But if it's a gift, it's non-taxable, and the cost basis would be whenever you gain access to it. So in this situation, you can send a gift, but until someone actually, accepts it in their Robinhood app, or if they don't have the Robinhood app, until they sign up and then accept it, they're not deemed as having control over those keys. So the cost basis will be whatever the price is when you receive that asset, but you will have to pay capital gains when you go and sell it again. Gift giving in crypto is kind of where it all started. Crypto started out as literally people giving crypto to others and saying, oh, that's a cool Reddit post, I'll give you some crypto. Oh, that's a cool Bitcoin Talk forum post, I'll give you some crypto. And so gift giving is like the essence of crypto. And then since then, paper wallets in the early days were really popular for that sort of thing. I don't personally think paper wallets are secure at all, given all of the hackability of printers and the fact that they store a digital JPEG of everything that you print out and are generally Wi-Fi enabled, so be really careful with those. Ballet Wallet is a very interesting kind of gift, which is like a physical key that you could send out. It's Bobby Lee who founded that a couple of years ago. And another really interesting way to be giving crypto, but I think this is cool. I'm not a fan of Robinhood's crypto usage at the moment. They've said that you will be able to do all kinds of things with it and take it out of your wallet and spend it on things and transfer it to other wallets. They haven't implemented that as far as I know. Maybe you guys can correct me. So until they do that, there's not much use case for crypto inside of Robinhood apart from being a speculative asset. But I do really love the idea that they're finding ways to make this more accessible for people, especially if you're like, I want to give some my mom and she doesn't know how to work computers or whatever. You can be like, okay, well, just here's a gift card. People understand gift cards. This is something that they can relate to. So the fact that they're using this gift card system, and I think that's a very accessible way to introduce people. So I think that's kind of cool. But Jen, I'll throw it to you.
Yeah, just coming off what you were saying, I think it's a cute feature, and I think it's a nice way to get your friends who are maybe a little bit apprehensive against crypto involved and for them to learn. So I think there are a lot of people out there who are reading headlines. They don't know what's going on with regulatory concerns and the climate, and they don't want to get scammed. They're not sure what platform to choose. And so if you can gift those people in your life some crypto this holiday season, and they can use that gift to kind of understand how it works and learn on their own, I think it kind of removes some of those barriers, and it's not their own money, so they can play around with it. Yeah, it's the holidays.
Always the heartwarmer, Jen. So guys, give the gift of crypto. Get people involved. It's not as scary as creating a wallet where you have to write down your own private key, or, understanding that Coinbase isn't necessarily going to protect you if your crypto goes missing on there. It could be a very interesting way to get people involved that's less daunting for them. So explore it. Or you can just give the real thing. There's that too, and just teach them. But Zach, throw it to you for wrap up.
All right, let's wrap this thing. We'll gift wrap this thing. We're gonna shut it down for today. We'll be back for the Friday show tomorrow. Punning, yeah. All right, that's it. That's all I got. Control, end us. I'm Zach. That's Will. There's Jen, and Naomi's here too. It's the whole gang. The hash. What a squad. All right, we'll see you tomorrow. Thanks for watching. See ya.
Bye.
See ya.